In 1980, on French television aired a miniseries. It was called in French Les Dames de la Côte, the ladies from the coast. And along with very established stars, it featured an unknown actress called Fanny Ardant. She was a young woman, really beautiful, very striking, tall, and there was a timeless quality to her that was very striking, and my father was absolutely charmed, as was really all her friends. And very quickly he decided to cast her opposite Gérard Depardieu for a dark love story called The Woman Next Door. Afterwards, she was becoming a very popular actress. She appeared in a number of films, but often her roles were lean towards drama, and he really wanted to showcase her sense of timing, her playfulness, and so he started looking for a comedy thriller story. By then, most of his films were based on original screenplays that he wrote along with one or two co-writers. He had kind of stopped adapting material from books, but for this film he thought it would really be easier and better to use a published work of fiction. And American pulp fiction was much more respected in France than here in this country. There was a French imprint called C'est Noir, which was and is still historically very respected, and has done a very good job of promoting writers like William Irish or Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, etc., up to the present. And so my father went back to a book he had read when it had come out in the early 60s, called The Long Saturday Night, written by Charles Williams. He remembered liking this book, and he asked his assistant, Suzanne Schiffman, to secure the rights, and she did. And then they started going deep into the book and realized that maybe this had not been the smartest move, because in the book there's a male protagonist who is accused of the murder of his wife and others. And he sets out to hide and also to prove that he's innocent, while his secretary, who was in love with him, is really relegated to the side. So, since the idea of the movie was to have Fanny be the heroine of a thriller, serious changes needed to be made. And another problem with the book was that the plot is nebulous, it's hard to follow. So my father enlisted two co-authors for this screenplay, Suzanne Schiffman, with whom he always worked, and then somebody called Jean Aurel. I have not mentioned his name here before, I don't think. Jean Aurel was a director of films and TV material and documentaries as well. And he was a friend of my father, and he was the person he trusted most when it came to questions of structure. When the first rough cut of a film was ready to be shown, Jean Aurel was the person it was going to be shown to, and his observations always mattered a great deal, especially suggestions to move a part of the story earlier, start with this scene rather than that scene. My father always took his suggestions very seriously, and so he provided valuable advice on elements of the plot that they really ended up having to re-engineer. Now another element of this is that, I think I mentioned this when I introduced 400 Blows, my father did not like police station scenes. He did not like to film policemen or gangsters either, but policemen especially, and that's a little bit of a problem in a detective story. So he really focused on going against the grain of those scenes, the way they're usually filmed, and maybe we can discuss that after the screening once you've seen the scenes in question. So for his few previous films, or the last 10 before this one at least, my father had been working in color. But more and more, he was a little dissatisfied with color. He didn't totally trust it to convey what he wanted. So his few movies in color, maybe the four or five movies before this one, he was working more and more with almost a monochromatic palette, either browns or blues or grays, or very desaturated colors for the last Metro. He felt that color movies ran the risk of either looking too much like television drama, or like documentaries, two big issues for him. And production companies would not consider financing a movie in black and white because movies needed to be purchased by television network in order to make back some of the investment, and television networks would not show contemporary movies in black and white in those days. But then Manhattan by Woody Allen and Raging Bull by Scorsese changed this state of things, at least for a while. And then my father was able to convince a production company to help him produce the film in black and white, which he felt was really essential for this kind of story to give it a little more atmosphere. And then again, he worked with Nestor Almendros, probably his favorite of his collaborator. The movie was filmed in the south of France, but in a city called Hyères, but honestly there's very little local color. It doesn't look like a movie filmed in Provence, although it is. Most of the exterior scenes are shot at night. The buildings are often very modern buildings. You don't really get a sense of place, and that was on purpose. For indoor locations, the production company found an old abandoned clinic, a little hospital, that was turned into a set, and almost all the interior scenes were filmed there. And the set designer made just a fabulous, turned out it's just amazing what he managed to do to follow the constraints and the challenges of a black and white movie. I happened to spend a few days on the set, and it was very exciting to watch. Now, along with Fanny, this film has in its cast Jean-Louis Trintignant, incredible actor with a stunning, impressive list of films. He was of the same generation as my father and kind of had more or less the same physical build, and so he fit in well with those other Francois Truffaut men, who are not very muscular, very, very tall, very machos, etc. He had written to my father a few years before, saying, if one day you feel like working together, I'd really like that. And so my father offered him the role a little bit tentatively because, again, it's the woman who does the detective work while the man is more passive. But Trintignant said, okay, he was game, and the movie really benefits from him, I think. The actors this time were not given a whole lot of freedom, especially freedom of movement. It was very precise. My father was inspired, of course, by Howard Hawks comedies, that kind of movies, and he wanted the actors to deliver their lines pretty fast, and he wanted them to move exactly in a certain way. He felt that speed was of the essence, also partly to hide the fact that the plot makes very little sense. And so please, don't try to follow it. And he tried to make the movie like a game, and the audience is invited to play along, so I hope you play along. Thank you. Window, yes. And he possibly discovered them because of Hitchcock, because Hitchcock adapted William Irish more than once, I think, and so my father adapted him twice.
Twice, Mississippi Mermaid and
The Bright Wolf. My father liked. He liked literature, and he liked Simenon a lot. Not so much the Maigret books, but Georges Simenon wrote perhaps hundreds of books, perhaps close to 100. I don't think I'm exaggerating. And he's more known for the Commissaire Maigret series, but he wrote a lot of other novels that my father admired greatly. That would probably be and that's not an American, that's a French name, although a lot of Simenon novels take place in America, in small towns, and it captures a certain feeling that feels very authentic. So I'm trying to remember this. Sometimes I know the French titles and I don't remember the author, and I don't know the American name, but in the Série Noire, I would say Cornell Woolrich, probably the first name that comes to mind. David Goodis, very much. I mean, who wrote The Piano Player? Yeah.